coming from your lower back, etc. The third thing we look for is it really a systemic problem. So sometimes people come in and they're, let's say, tired. It's a systemic problem, maybe because there's a lack of proper nutrients in their diet. Sometimes it's a hormonal problem, such as an adrenal or a thyroid issue, or it's a problem with their estrogen and progesterone and thyroid kind of balance. So that's a systemic problem. And then sometimes they have multi-systemic problems where there's infections and allergies and deficiencies and an injury going on. So our job is initially to identify the causes that are likely going on, and then remove the causes in the simplest, most cost-effective manner that we can find. We have people come in quite often with, as I say, the things: I'm tired, I'm in pain, I can't do X, and sometimes it's they recognize they have allergies, and the allergies are seasonal, meaning in the spring or certain times of the year. But some of the people we come in have allergies year-round, and they're sometimes getting worse, and we find that food allergies, or they think they have an allergy, but what they actually have is a low-grade infection, and the immune system is constantly having to go after it. The infections are interesting because when you don't always have an acute infection where you need an antibiotic or a treatment, but what you've got is an infection. You've got the waste products of the infection lingering in the system. So I tell people it's like if you have a flood in your house, and once the flood is gone, the initial problem is dealt with, but now you have all this waste product and silt and things in your house. And when you start cleaning that up, what happens is you start, let's say you have a central vacuum and you start vacuuming up the carpets and things. All of that sludge goes into the central vacuum system. And in the body, that can be things like your liver, your lungs, etc. They're congested. And if those areas are not cleaned out, then the functioning of the organ and or the body is compromised. And we often get people that have had like a serious flu or a virus go through their system. A year later or 6 months later, they're still having problems. They're having recurring infections in the area and things. And what we find is it's because they have these waste products stored in their system. So that's where drainage and detoxification methods are needed. And most naturopathic physicians, but especially in our clinic, we're trained in what's called drainage. That's very important for getting rid of some of these chronic things that are going on. We have one of the doctors in our clinic specializes also in chronic conditions like Lyme's disease and things that basically where people have lost their energy and they can't seem to get it back.
Well, Dr. Brown, let me ask you this. Do people need a referral to come see you, or can they just phone and make an appointment?
No, that's one of the things that most people don't know, but naturopathic physicians are primary care physicians in the province, so you do not need a referral in order to come into the office. Basically, think of us as general practitioners with specialized training in natural therapies. One thing, though, most people do need to realize is that the medical services plan does not cover the office visits of the naturopathic physicians.
Well, now how about this, Dr. Brown? How do people find you?
Most people find our office through referral, through word of mouth. That's how the business has been set up over the years. And we found that the websites and that people are using the social media much more so, making ourselves available through the internet and through some of the social media has become increasingly important, and so that's why we're letting people know what we're about and what we do at Ocean Park Natural Therapies.
Now, Dr. Brown, before we go today, do you have any final thoughts that you would like to share with our listeners?
A couple of things. I think most people get confused when it comes to healthcare, and by creating a simple model of such as solving your health puzzle with integrated medicine or these things, we try to help them understand what they need to know in order to get themselves functioning better and more educated around the causes and what's going on, so that they get control back into their life. The other thing is I'm quite passionate about sharing information and taking complex things and making them, simplifying them so that the average person can understand them. And there's a number of areas that we specialize in, such as injection therapies for regenerating joints and structures, pain management, allergies, hormonal imbalances, and we also specialize in our clinic where we do autonomic response testing, so we can individualize the treatment that we're doing specific to the individual, and we can figure that out quite quickly in the office, so that we don't send them out with prescriptions and nutrients and things that really don't serve their system. And these are things that in the future I would like to get out and describe so that people understand that and they understand what these things are about.
Well, Dr. Brown, it's been great having this conversation with you today, but unfortunately we are out of time. Now, before we go, if it's okay with you, I want to make sure the listeners have your address. So I believe that it's going to be at 200 12761 16th Avenue in Surrey, BC. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Excellent,
and,
excellent.
I tell people we're out on the tip of the peninsula. If you go much further west, you'd be in the ocean.
Well, don't want to be in the ocean. Definitely want to be over at Ocean Park Natural Therapies. Well, Dr. Brown, thanks so much for the conversation. We are out of time. But for our listeners, if you can think of someone who might benefit from what we have talked about today, go ahead and share this podcast with them. I am sure they'll thank you for it. Now, you can also reach Dr. Brown's office by telephone at 604-538-3017. Again, that's 604-538-3017. Or on the website we've talked about a couple of times today, that's www.oceanparkhealth.com. Now, once again, Dr. Brown, for myself, for the listeners, thanks so much for the conversation today.
Okay, thank you, Eric, and thanks to the audience.
You've been listening to Spotlight on Business on the Semiahmoo Peninsula, brought to you by jammedia.com. Jammedia.com, your local web marketing experts.
localwebradio.fm